Ukip leadership favourite Steven Woolfe has collapsed at the European Parliament in Strasbourg. The dramatic incident is happened at around 11:20 UK time when the MEP was just outside the chamber. Potential rivals for the leadership including Suzanne Evans have wished Mr. Woolfe a speedy recovery. A Ukip spokesman said, Steven Woolfe MEP was taken suddenly ill in the European Parliament building in Strasbourg this morning. He has been taken to hospital in the city and he is undergoing tests. The development comes after the Eurosceptic Party was plunged into chaos following the shock resignation of Diane James from its top job. Mrs. James had been in charge for just 18 days but cited personal and professional reasons for her departure, citing a lack of support among the party's MEPs and officials. Bizarrely, Nigel Farage is now technically leader again as Ms. James had marked her nomination for Ms. VC to signify she was signing under duress. Suzanne Evans, a leading contender to be Ukip leader, said, shocked to hear Steven Woolfe has apparently collapsed in the European Parliament in Strasbourg. Wishing him well for a speedy recovery. Former Farage spin doctor and outsider for the top job Rahim Kassem said, I have cancelled my appearance on BBC at Daily_Politics out of respect to Steven_Woolfe who is currently being treated after collapsing. Earlier Aaron Banks, who donated £1 million to Ukip before the general election, launched an outspoken attack on the circus clowns running the party. He lashed out at the NEC, which was heavily criticized for refusing to accept Mr. Woolfe's candidacy for the leadership during the last contest because the papers were filed a few minutes late. This body is populated by a motley collection of amateurs, leftovers from a bygone age, when Ukip was a ragtag band of volunteers on the fringes of British politics. Watching them try to run the modern political movement that, Nigel Farage built is like watching a team of circus clowns trying to carry out a pit stop at the Silverstone Grand Prix, he wrote in The Guardian. If James hadn't put her name forward at the last minute, we would have had nothing but a rabble of no name, no talents, nobodies to choose from. These people would be out of their depth in a paddling pool, and couldn't be more unfit to run a modern political party. The attack came as Rahim Kassem, a former aide to Mr. Farage, insisted the party was beset by backstabbing and duplicity. I, like ordinary Ukip members, am so tired of the games that are being played at the top of this party. There is so much corruption. There is so much duplicity. There are so many people shaking hands with one another and then knifing them in private. It has to stop, he said. Mr. Woolfe has admitted he had flirted with defecting to the Tories after being barred from the last leadership race by the party's NEC. The MEP said he had been enthused by Theresa May's start to her premiership but in the end concluded that only Ukip could be relied upon to deliver on Brexit. Her support of new grammar schools, her words on social mobility and the growing evidence that she is committed to a clean Brexit prompted me, as it did many of my friends and colleagues, to wonder whether our future was within her new Conservative Party, he said. However, having watched the Prime Minister's speech on Sunday, I came to the conclusion that only a strong Ukip can guarantee Brexit is delivered in full and only our party can stand up for the communities of the Midlands and the North. Ukip's NEC will now meet on October 17 to agree a timetable for an election to find a permanent replacement for Ms. James. In her resignation statement, Ms. James said she was standing down for personal and professional reasons, citing a lack of support among the party's MEPs and officials. It is thought that her husband's ill health may also have played a role, while Nigel Farage, who will head the party until a replacement is elected, pointed to an incident at London's Waterloo station in which she was verbally abused and spat at. Mr. Farage said he expects a new leader to be appointed before the end of November. Former Deputy Leader Paul Nuttall, former Deputy Chairwoman Suzanne Evans, who has just returned to Ukip after a suspension, and Lisa Duffy, who came second to James in the last leadership contest, are all said to be considering a leadership bid. The backbiting came as Mr. Farage accused the Conservatives of rebranding as Ukip after Mrs. May's keynote address to the Tory party conference. It made you realize the extent to which Ukip hadn't just pushed for, gained and helped to win a referendum, but actually we've changed the center of gravity of British politics. Virtually everything she said in that speech are things I've said to the Ukip conference over the last 5 or 6 years, Mr. Farage told Channel 4 News.